So it helps me, you know, not waste time, waste gas, and it also feeds animals. So you're feeding the animals that's going to feed you. It's true sustainability, guys. Phenomenal way of looking at the approach of taking care of the animals on the land. They're taking care of your land. They're taking care of you.
My very first tincture, I'm making this is coneflower, or some people know it as echinacea. And we use this in our elderberry syrup, but I'm going to be extracting the medicinal properties from this flower. This is what I grew out of our yard that I have been collecting, yay. And the leaves that I dried. Now I did pull these out of the dehydrator a while ago because they were ready. Now I'm going to be using organic vodka. Now we don't consume alcohol, but in order to get the properties best out of your herbs is with an alcohol. I actually have 2 jars. This is the ones, oh Livy, you can't get that, sister. This is the one that is ready and weighed out. So I'm gonna put in this jar over here with my alcohol. Then I'm gonna use this jar that I have left, weigh what I have here, and then make a second tincture in this jar. Now I'm using 1:3 ratio for this batch, is what I have, based on all the research that I've done. I have weighed, this was 2 ounces herb. They have different words for everything that you do, but basically dried herb. Since I have 2 ounces of dried herb, I'm gonna times that in my ratio times 3 your vodka. Now, like I said, they have another term for this that I'm learning myself, but basically it's just your liquid. So I'll use 6 ounces, 2 ounces of dried herb to 6 ounces of vodka. And that is gonna give me my tincture. Then I'm gonna leave all of it in my jar, labeled with what I used, and put it away for 8 weeks, and then I'll be able to pull it out, strain it off. I'm gonna put it in an amber jar, and I'll be able to use it. This to me is what I have worked for so long. It's thrilling to know that I planted these from seeds, grew these up. Now I'm being able to utilize them for my family. It's kind of what it's all about, y'all. There it is, all finished. Now I did not have to use my second jar. I was able to get it all in this one jar, so that saved me a jar. I would have had a bunch of extra space up here. So there it is, it's done. I'm thrilled to have my very first tincture done, and we will be able to start using this in the middle of cold and flu season this year. Set it on my shelf and label it with today's date, what it is and what % alcohol it is. Shake it every day if I can remember, but at least once a week. So yay, yay, yay. I'm so happy about this.
So while Miss Mac is inside working on some tinctures, I'm really thinking about trying to move Lily by herself. What we're going to do is take this big 3.5 acre field and keep the 2 heifers, the Jersey heifer and also the little Hereford heifer, along with Sonny, the little bull yearling, and keep them here and rotate them in the nets inside this fence. That'll help them get used to the nets, being away from their mom, still weaned. If they see their mom, they still run, or the mama still run. They're still kind of battling that, you know, just like a typical weaning process. So remember, we're trying to sell Lily, or hadn't really aggressively tried to sell Lily, I hate to say that, but we need to get her with the mamas and also Quarantino, because Quarantino is about 2 months from being of age, I guess I can say, to breed. So if these 3, if Lily didn't get bred and the 2 Hereford mamas didn't get bred by the rental bull Bobo, then Quarantino's with them. And I'm not opposed to still selling Lily. I haven't aggressively tried to sell her. I did once, and then the guy backed out. So I said, you know, maybe it wasn't right. I need to get her moved, but she'd be walking by herself across about 10 to 15 acre. I'm anxious to see if she's gonna do it. She probably won't, because she doesn't follow a bucket real well. So we're gonna see if we can get her. Come on, girl. Come on, girl. Come on. Come on. Let's go. She wants to be with the little calves. Good girl. Good girl. Come on. Change of plans. She started acting a little crazy, so we don't want to stress her. She's not that much bigger than them. I'm trying to keep them in this 1 3-acre paddock, basically, kind of a bigger paddock, by themselves to get them used to temporary fencing. I'm gonna start them off with net fencing to get them used to the popping, and then I'm gonna start them then with a temporary wire fencing, our Gallagher fencing that we use all across the farm, and then that way that gets them a good grasp of, you know, it pops them, but it allows them to still have perimeter fence where they can't get out, and that'll help train them to, as they get older. I'm not training a cow or a bull, I'm training yearlings and calves. We're gonna come out and feed them like we always do, just a little bit of handful of alfalfa, gets them used to us. It really starts teaching them to be good cows and not crazy cows. See, Lily is not crazy by any means, but she is more hands-off. So I'm not trying to make her more hands-on, because again, eventually we will be selling her. But for right now, I do need her kind of following directions. I need to get her used to a bucket of feed, so she hears the sound, she associates, hey, that's good food, and I gotta walk to get it. I'm utilizing basically 2 nets, 1 charger, 1 grounding rod, and 1 field to do all my training that I need to do. So Misty had a good idea, so we've been doing that. The horses are doing great. We've been moving them around pretty much daily or every other day to the fields behind either the cows or the sheep or whatever. And the whole purpose is we want them to get used to rotating, we want them to get used to the cows. So we just moved Allie and Josie over, and of course there's tons of grass still in the field, so we left from this paddock where the horses were and they ran and had a good time and spunkiness to now today this paddock still has grass, still has a bale of hay in it. Again, trying to get them used to just rotating all the time, because these horses have never had that. Bella stayed in 1 field, and they said that's the only field they had, and she stayed in that field since they've owned her the last 2 to 3 years. Rose has had a lot of land, but she's just been close to the barn, so they'd work her out and then bring her back to the barn area. And Misty had a good idea, but just kind of everywhere we go, let's just lead them. Let's go with them, let them walk with us, let them get used to us. We're still giving them a little alfalfa, a little feed every day, just to kind of get them used to who we are, that they can love on us, feel comfortable with us, because the more they feel comfortable with us, the more we feel comfortable with them, and the better we ride them. So they're over in this field today. They'll be here for about another day. There's a lot of grass on this top side. There's a big hay bale right there, fresh hay. We got a protein bucket in here. Actually, it's not a lot of protein left. It's from the cows. Like, the last thing I want to do is give them a whole bucket or give them a lot. So there was like literally just a little smidgen in there. Smidgen. Do you have a smidgen where you are from? Allows them to get a little taste of it. Kind of gives them a little treat. It reminds me of how they go for their little apple nuggets. They're going for that. So I think Rose is really enjoying it. We had a little bit of this feed left that somebody gave us when we bought the horses, and I don't even know what it is. It's just a kind of like I guess an all-purpose grain feed. When I poured it, they both come up to me, so it allows them to have a little treat. We will go with strictly alfalfa. We have been mixing a tad bit of alfalfa. Brady, the guy that helped us with the horses, said, you know, you don't want to make them, and the same with cows, you don't want to just change their feed up and them not be used to it. So we've been incorporating a little alfalfa, because ultimately that's what we feed on the farm, just one thing for ruminant animals, which is the alfalfa, organic alfalfa. So I've been mixing a little bit in their feed every day when we feed them, so that way they can kind of get used to it. It's not overbearing, and then eventually we will fizzle out this feed of whatever kind this is, and it be strictly alfalfa. So we're just mixing a little bit as we go. I think Rose chews with her mouth open, and she loses more feed than any other animal in the world. She wastes. I try to teach her good manners. Chew with your mouth closed, but she doesn't want to listen. So it is a little warm, but not too bad out. And it's really getting to that time where you're feeling the breeze of the fall weather coming in as we are in September. So I'm happy with that. The lambs are loving their tree. I'm gonna leave them with a little shade from the tree, but we need to move them. I've cut behind them over here. The lambs have really grown grass really well, so I've been very pleased with that. So we've been working this area again. I parked these trailers over here where our barn is. I'm so depressed that I don't have a barn there yet, but until we do, we're gonna go and put the trailers there. We've got one more move by the garden where the peas are, the fall peas are, and the pumpkins. That's where we'll move the sheep there. Then the sheep will go back, and again by the ewe way back there. So they are doing phenomenal. We're utilizing the sheep in areas that nothing else can utilize. I know I've said that before, but I just can't get over how we're able to have these animals, and really, other than when we went on the trip and we put them in that field, they've taken all the land that I typically bush hog and they eat it. And I just go behind them and just touch up cutting and things like that on some of the high ends that they didn't do. So I really enjoy sheep. If you're wanting to get into bigger animals other than pigs and chickens, sheep is a good move. It gets you used to cattle. It's not as big as cattle. Sheep too, they don't want to get out like a goat. They don't get sick like a goat. So I think that they do a little bit better if you're trying to grow up to cattle. I think sheep is where you need to start, because sheep is a smaller ruminant animal. They're a little bit more skittish, but if you learn how to really take care of your sheep, you'll almost be a really good cattleman as you move up to a bigger animal. If you never want to move up to a bigger animal and you just want to have the sheep, hey man, I really enjoy the sheep. I'm not gonna lie, they really are just fun to be around. Trump loves you rubbing his head. Now the girls are a little skittish, and I guess if I come out here and fed them all the time, but again, we try to teach them eating grass only. But if you're, if you're wanting to be pets and you're just going to feed them all the time, then they'll probably come up to you all the time. Daisy does come to me sometimes, but the two babies don't. So we're going to move them on this side right in front of the pond. There's some high grass on that side, and I don't want to cut it. I want to be able to utilize it for them. So this has been about 5 days worth of moving just in this one little dead area that I used to cut with a mower. So it helps me, not waste time, waste gas, and also feeds animals. So you're feeding the animals that's going to feed you. It's true sustainability, guys. Phenomenal way of looking at the approach of taking care of the animals on the land. They're taking care of your land. They're taking care of you, because ultimately you're able to process them and sell their babies. And there's so many different ways and facets with animals how you can utilize them. And this is just another way that we're using them in an area that is, not big enough for cattle. Doesn't really make sense for any other animal on the farm. And I have to cut grass, and I don't want to cut it. So this allows the sheep to be used. I like those boots. We're not going on the Ranger right now, bud. We gotta go see Mommy. She's watering.
I'm ready to go see Mama.
This is Destiny broccoli. It's growing really well. This is also Destiny broccoli, and we have some Waltham broccoli back here. These are actually fall squash and zucchini. We decided to try to grow some fall squash and zucchini because it tends to grow better, and also it's not as hot, so it doesn't cause issues for them with the squash borers as much or with insects. And then of course the tomatoes are looking phenomenal. We're fixing to get them in some bigger pots as they are growing. Greenhouse is doing really good. It's actually been pretty cool outside in the mornings and evenings, so it's allowed the greenhouse to stay at a good temperature for these seed starts to really grow. As Misty is watering, she's been watering all these seed starts pretty heavy, especially the cool weather crops like the broccolis and also the collards and lettuce. So that way the pressure of the sun and the heat is not hurting them. But everything's really coming up good. I've got some bok choy and spinach starting to really come up. We'll show you some of it right there. So all those seed starts that we planted just last video, or the last few videos, we've got some of the bok choy, some of the spinach, and some of the lettuce coming up. And when it's hot, it actually is really tough on your cool crop stuff, so Misty keeps it pretty wet, keeps the soil temperature down, which allows for those seed starts to come on up or the plants to come on up without looking really bad. So when we planted these, all these broccoli here, some of the original leaves are on the bottom here, and they do look kind of bad. They took a shot when we put them in the ground, but now they're really starting to stand up. When we first planted them, they were all kind of leaned over, but now they're starting to really stand up, looking really nice. Hadn't lost any of them so far, so I hope they'll just keep on looking good and keep on growing, and I hope we have a great broccoli harvest this year, don't you?
For all the plants we have, we bettered, or we need to give it up.